Most people think mind-muscle connection just means chasing a pump and doing endless reps, but that's exactly why they're not building muscle. After a decade of coaching athletes and clients towards their body composition and performance goals, I've learned this. Real muscle growth comes from how you execute, not just what you feel. In this video, I'll show you the exact cues I use on a full upper body day to get the most out of every rep. These are cues I got from industry experts and some of the best coaches in the world. Let's dive in. I start every session with mobility work. This ensures you can access the positions required for an exercise without compensation. This improves movement quality, reduces injury risk, and allows you to better target the intended muscles. Only a fool learns from his own mistakes. A wise man learns from the mistakes of others. I was that fool who tore several muscles over the years as I refused to do the boring work. I start with lateral raises because I'm really trying to bring up my shoulders. I put the medial delt first since I'm strongest and freshest at the start, so I can lift better and actually get more muscle fibers working. As I get tired later in the session, it's hard to activate those fibers properly as my performance drops, which means fewer quality reps. If you're after that aesthetic V-taper X-frame look, consider doing the same. The medial delt acts as a shoulder abductor, which simply means it lifts your arm out towards the side. All I'm doing here is making sure I don't flare up my ribs or arch my spine when trying to drive my arms out to the side. This is typically what happens when you're close to failure. The brain wants to force you into positions that make the movement easier by bringing in other muscles, even if it takes tension away from the one you're trying to train. Why I prefer a seated machine over a standing dumbbell lateral raise? Simply because I want constant tension on my delts, and dumbbells lose tension on the bottom. You're more likely to get torso swing and momentum if you haven't developed this skill here. My second exercise is a chest supported TBar row. Again, I prefer to start with an upper back focused row, as that is another body part that is lagging on my frame. I want to make sure my upper back, specifically the mid-traps, rhomboids, gets the best effort and isn't held back by fatigue from other exercises. The upper back region is best targeted when you retract your scapula. Simply think about the action of pinching your shoulder blades together. The chest support increases your stability and prevents the need to stabilize your torso. The support removes unnecessary variables like balance and lower back fatigue. I want my upper back muscles to get the tension and not my lower back taking over. Not to demonize specific exercises, but my main goal in this training block is to build muscle hypertrophy, and I will have to select exercises that promote external stability and force the target muscles to produce maximal force. Key here is to keep your elbows high or pronated hand position. Your goal with this exercise isn't to get much lat involvement, and a high elbow palms down grip position will shift the bias to the retractor muscles of the upper back. First pressing movement is a dumbbell incline bench press. I've always preferred dumbbell press variations because they allow you to adjust the movement to match your natural scapular plane. The scapular plane refers to the angle your arms naturally move in, slightly forward from your sides, where your shoulders feel more stable and comfortable. This is important as everyone's structure is different. Even though machines are often adjustable, I found that they tend to force me into pressing patterns that don't feel optimal for my body. One of the biggest lessons I've learned throughout my years of lifting is that you need to select exercises that fit your structure. Like trying to force a square peg into a triangle hole. You might be able to make it work to some extent, but it's never going to fit properly, and it usually leads to unnecessary strain. Only took a few torn muscles to finally take that seriously. Setting the incline bench to about 30 to 45 degrees will line up those resistance to bias the clavicular head of the upper chest muscles. Next, I move to a vertical pull down variation for the lats. I really like using the prime plate loaded lat pull down, as it allows you to manipulate the strength curve of the movement, making certain portions of the range of motion easier or harder depending on your setup. This is specifically useful for the lats, which are often hardest to fully shorten and contract at the bottom of the pull down. You're able to adjust the resistance profiles depending on where you load the plates. This machine helps create a more even tension throughout the movement and makes it easier to load the shortened position effectively. All I'm thinking here to generate tension in my lat is turning the thumbs out or external rotation, creating tension in my abs like someone's about to punch my gut. Initiate with the shoulders driving down and follow through with the elbows into the hip. I then move on to some sort of fly variation to challenge the shortened position of the chest. The machine flies were taken and I saw this transformer looking piece and decided why not. This obviously looks like a pressing movement, just at a different angle. My thought process here is bringing my upper arm across and towards the midline. A great cue here is keeping your scapula down and neutral. Common mistake here is thinking you have to squeeze your shoulder blades tight tight and prevent any movement. That's great for powerlifting, but I typically feel it more in the front delt or shoulders that way. Next, I try and fry the rear delts on a reverse fly machine or cable stack. But again, the gym was too busy and I opted for a row variation instead. Not ideal as the rear delts function to move the arm back and down across the body. The problem with rows is that there isn't a lot of tension opposing the arm going across the body. But hey, I like this machine and don't have access to it frequently. Keeping my elbows high and driving it behind my midline still gave me a good connection with my rear delts. Finally, I move on to arms. Try the single arm tricep variation on the lat pull down stack if you're struggling with isolating the elbow extension movement. Common mistake I see all the time is shoulder movement in arm training. The elbow support mitigates that and also prevents momentum from the torso and hips as you're in a seated position. I like using a cuff and placing it on the base of the wrist. If you struggle with elbow pain, this is an instant fix. This biases the lateral and medial hits of the tricep. I program overhead extensions on my second upper body day of the week. I then finish off the session with an elbow supported curl for the biceps. Most people swing their curls and move tension away from the biceps into the shoulder. Some shoulder movement is going to happen and that's fine, but if the main goal is hypertrophy, then we only want to focus on moving the elbow, which maximizes mechanical tension in the biceps. I hope you learned something that will improve your training today. Let me know in the comments what was the most useful tip and subscribe if you've got any value from this video. I appreciate your support. See you in the next one.